MotoGP never stays quiet for long, and leading up to the 2025 Italian Grand Prix at Mugello, the long-standing legacy battle between Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi has once again taken center stage. On track, Marquez is charging toward what could be a historic championship. Off it, the never-ending GOAT debate is once again dividing fans and paddock insiders alike. So let's break down all the drama, numbers, and tension heading into one of the most emotional weekends of the MotoGP calendar. In a special TNT Sports segment, former racers Cal Crutchlow, Neil Hodgson and James Toseland were asked the age-old question, who is truly the greatest rider in MotoGP history? As expected, their answers split the panel and stirred up long-standing rivalries that never really went away. Cal Crutchlow, who spent 5 seasons on a Honda Satellite bike, while Marquez ruled on the factory RC213V, didn't hold back. His control of the front brake always stood out to me, Crutchlow said. Marquez figured out that the more you leaned the bike into a corner, the more you could slow it down. Nobody else could do that. For Crutchlow, it was all about raw skill, Marquez's mechanical understanding and technique that made him a generational talent. But James Toseland took a different route. This is entertainment, he said, and no one did it better than Valentino Rossi. He was gold. Toseland focused on Rossi's charisma, the connection he built with fans, and his ability to turn every race into a spectacle from the main. Neil Hodgson, on the other hand, came with facts and numbers. They raced each other. Marquez came in as a rookie in 2013 and beat Rossi, who won 7 or 8 out of 10 times. Marquez did, he said. That's why, for me, Marc takes it. The head-to-head numbers don't lie. From 2013 to 2021, when they shared the grid, Marquez consistently had the upper hand in crucial battles. But emotion still runs deep for Rossi, especially in Italy, where his legacy isn't just remembered, it's worshipped. That's the heart of the debate. Meanwhile, beyond the legacy noise, the 2025 season has become a turning point for Francesco Bagnaia. After a rough start to the year where nothing seemed to click, he stopped airing frustrations and started adapting. The Ducati GP25 was billed as the ultimate MotoGP machine. Marquez has made it look that way, but for Pecco it turned into a puzzle. Front-end feel vanished, confidence disappeared, and Marquez opened up a staggering 93-point lead after just 8 rounds. But then came Aragon. Bagnaia made a key change to his braking setup and suddenly things started to work. He crossed the line only a couple of seconds behind Marquez and looked like his old self again. Frost inside the Ducati camp, some are calling it a turning point. Alex Crivellé took it a step further, saying having Valentino around as a mentor is a luxury. Pecco's learning a lot from him. Speaking to DAZN, Crivellé explained that Pecco looked up to the best. He studied Valentino Rossi for his braking technique and Marquez for how he leans the bike, then took those lessons and elevated them. What Pecco is doing now isn't just copying, he's merging the techniques of 2 icons. Rossi's signature leg dangle under braking and Marquez's insane edge grip are being fused into something entirely new. What Bagnaia is trying to channel from Rossi goes deeper than people think. Known as the Doctor's Dangle, Rossi's leg-out technique under heavy braking became legendary. It wasn't just for show. James Toseland explained it perfectly. The biggest thing for him was that the rear wheel almost never touched the ground under hard braking. If it came down even slightly out of line and snapped, that leg was like a cat's tail. It kept the balance. Whether it was a carefully honed move or, as Cal Crutchlow once joked, a subconscious reaction to panic, it worked. It changed the way MotoGP was ridden. Everyone from Andrea Dovizioso to Fabio Quartararo eventually started using it. Now, Pecco is using it as a weapon again, this time against Marquez. As Mugello nears, Marquez's return to Italian soil is stirring up old emotions and a lot of noise. Fans haven't forgotten the drama, from the explosive Sepang 2015 incident to the boos he received on the Misano podium in 2023. Even with Rossi retired, his presence still looms large. At a fan event over the winter, some of Bagnaia's own supporters made their feelings known. Marquez's name got booed loud and clear. It didn't go unnoticed. Even Marc has acknowledged the strained atmosphere heading into this round. There have been moments of tension with the Italian fans since 2015, he told La Repubblica, but things have been improving since I joined Ducati. Still, when asked if he's had any direct contact with Rossi since the legendary rider stepped away from racing, Marquez didn't hesitate. Never. Despite all the talk around records and legacy, Marquez says matching Rossi's 7 Premier Class titles, or 9 world titles overall, isn't what drives him. Right now, he's sitting on 6 MotoGP championships and is on pace for a 7th, but he insists the numbers don't define him. For me, 9 titles isn't the biggest challenge I've faced, he said. The hardest thing I've ever done was come back from a really dark place. He was referring to his emotional press conference at Mugello back in 2022, where he announced he'd be undergoing a 4th arm surgery and heading to the US for treatment. That comeback story, overcoming injury and adversity, is the one Marc Marquez values more than any stat sheet. Still, let's be honest, winning this title would put him level with Valentino Rossi, and he knows it. Marquez hasn't stood on the top step at Mugello since 2014, but this time around he's arguably in his best form since 2019. Meanwhile, Pecco Bagnaia, unbeaten at Mugello since 2022, is feeling the weight of expectation. He needs to deliver, or he could find himself mathematically out of title contention by the halfway mark of the season. Even Marquez acknowledges that Mugello is Pecco's stronghold. I'll try to understand his speed this year, Marquez said, noting he'll study both Pecco's and Alex's data because both are quick here. Marquez knows the layout, but he also knows the fans might not exactly roll out the welcome mat. The tension, still there. And if he does manage to win, it won't just be a victory, it'll be a statement. A statement that puts him one step closer to equaling Rossi's legendary stats, and one that could stir the pot even more. Even though Rossi is now semi-retired and focused on his GT racing ventures, his influence is everywhere this weekend. The VR46 team just revealed a special Mugello livery for Franco Morbidelli and Fabio Di Giannantonio, an eye-catching design inspired by the Northern Lights and the music of Italian pop rock star Cesare Cremonini, a close friend of Rossi. Music and MotoGP are all about emotion, Rossi said. Together with Aldo Drudi, we created a bike that feels like a dream. It's a reminder that Rossi's presence isn't just part of the past, it's woven into the sport's identity. And that shadow looms especially large when your rival is chasing your records in front of your home crowd. But as if chasing history wasn't enough, Marquez is also navigating a quieter, behind-the-scenes struggle inside the Ducati garage. There's a growing divide between him and Pecco when it comes to preferred components, especially in areas like electronics and braking. Insiders are calling it a technical Cold War. Each rider is pushing development in a different direction. Pecco's Rossi-inspired braking tweaks, they're not just performance-driven, they're a response to the influence Marquez has had on how the bike evolves. This championship isn't just about who racks up the most points, it's about who shapes the future of Ducati's technical path. And whether or not Marquez admits it, equaling Rossi's record here at Mugello would be as symbolic as it gets. For Rossi's diehard fans, it would be a gut punch. For Marquez supporters, it would feel like sweet validation. And for the GOAT debate, it might just be the tipping point that swings the conversation toward 93. Still, the season's far from over. Alex Marquez, just 32 points behind, is riding better than ever. Pecco, with Rossi's guidance and a renewed sense of confidence, is starting to look like the two-time champ we remember. And Mugello, it has a funny way of throwing everything we think we know out the window. The bottom line, Rossi may no longer be on the grid, but this rivalry is alive and well, and here at Mugello, the echoes of the past might just shape what's next for MotoGP. 2025 is starting to feel like a flashback to Marc Marquez's peak years, but with a sharper, more refined edge. After 8 rounds, the 8-time world champion isn't just winning, he's breaking down his rivals mentally, and heading into Mugello, one thing's become obvious. Marquez's return to the factory Ducati squad has completely rewritten the title fight. So how's he pulling it off? How has a rider who just last season was battling injuries, inconsistency, and bike limitations suddenly turned into the most dominant force of 2025? According to those closest to him, including his crew chief, it's not just about pure speed. It's about how he processes, learns, and thinks through every situation. The stats speak for themselves. Marquez leads the championship after 8 rounds, 16 races in total, with 11 wins to his name, including 7 out of 8 sprint races. He's 32 points clear of his brother Alex Marquez and holds a staggering 93-point lead over his Ducati teammate Pecco Bagnaia. It's a massive turnaround, especially considering he crashed out at both Cota and Jerez earlier in the season. Many in the paddock thought those DNFs had already derailed his title run. But Marquez, known for his mental toughness, bounced back and did it with frightening consistency. He opened up about the shift during the weekend, and journalist Lewis Duncan summed it up after Aragon. You can tell the mistakes rattled him. He said Ducati understood what happened, but he wasn't totally confident either, even though the feeling with the bike was good. What's become clear is that those errors weren't just about the bike or pace. They were mental blocks Marquez had to break through. Aragon, where he topped every session of the weekend, became the site of that mental reset, and he responded with complete dominance. Duncan put it best. It feels like Marquez has cleared a major mental hurdle. If he's finally gotten past the habit of making mistakes on Sundays, Duncan said, then that's one less thing his rivals can exploit. They can't shake him. He just doesn't break under pressure anymore. What makes Marquez such a threat right now isn't just his speed. It's how unpredictable he's become. As Jordan Munt phrased it, he chips away, waits for others to mess up, and then just builds and builds. He always figures it out eventually. He's not out there leading every lap or crushing qualifying sessions. Sometimes it's Alex Marquez or Di Gianantonio who look stronger in the early stages of a weekend. But that's exactly where Marc's brilliance shows. He figures things out as the weekend unfolds. Even if the tyres are wearing down, he still manages to push through. As Duncan noted, instead of Alex finishing second, he ends up third. That's the kind of tactical precision Marc brings. He adapts so quickly that just when opponents think they've got an opening, they end up paying for it. While others are playing standard chess, Marquez is playing something closer to 4D strategy, and he's doing it on a bike that isn't exactly forgiving. The Ducati GP25 has proven tricky, especially for Pecco Bagnaia, who's struggled all season with front-end grip and confidence. Marquez, however, has found a way to make it work. Even a rough outing at Silverstone, where he had some front-end issues, didn't stop his momentum heading into Aragon. Marc's shift from being viewed as an aging wildcard to a clear title favourite isn't just about what he does on Sundays. It's also about the way he approaches the job during the week. No one sees that better than Marco Rigamonti, his crew chief for 2025. Rigamonti, who's worked with riders like Iannone, Zarco and Bastianini, admitted he's been impressed both technically and personally by what he's seen since teaming up with Marc. You learn a lot with him, he told Mundo Deportivo. He gives clear directions, he's great at reading data, and technically he understands what's happening on the bike. He doesn't just ride hard, he explains things, helps improve setup, and points out exactly where adjustments are needed. But it's not just about talent, it's also about how he communicates, and even more surprisingly, how humble he is. You expect a superstar, Rigamonti said, someone who acts like they've got it all figured out. But instead, he owns up to mistakes. He'll tell you if he gave the wrong feedback. He says thank you. He greets everyone. That's how it should be, but it's rare. That humility has played a big role in shaping a new atmosphere inside the Ducati Lenovo garage. Even though Marquez has worked with 3 different crew chiefs in as many seasons, Santi Hernandez at Honda in 2023, Frankie Carchedi at Gresini in 2024, and now Marco Rigamonti, he's managed to adjust seamlessly each time. That alone is something few riders can pull off. But maybe the most interesting insight from Rigamonti is this: no one can ride like Marc Marquez, not even on the exact same machine. You can clearly see where he makes the difference, especially on corner entry and in left-handers, Rigamonti explained. But trying to explain how he does it? It all happens so fast it's almost impossible to pinpoint. Even with all the data and telemetry at hand, what Marquez does on the bike seems nearly impossible to teach. And that's what makes him so unique. Rigamonti said, "In my opinion, changing your riding style to match another rider takes a long time. It's possible, but by the time you get there, the advantage is already gone." In other words, even if someone like Alex Marquez or Pecco Bagnaia could fully understand what Marc is doing on track, replicating it is another story. That style has been forged over years of hardship, injury, and raw instinct, something you can't download off a data sheet. That's why Marquez has become a master of what Rigamonti calls unseeable data. You can read it, but you can't copy it. Still, for all the praise, Rigamonti was quick to point out one area where Marc isn't quite perfect: right-hand corners. If there's one place he's still not at his best, it's the right turns. After that arm injury back in 2020, they've been more difficult. If he was as strong on the right as he is on the left, he'd be unbeatable. That could be a key factor heading into Mugello, a track packed with fast right-handers, but it's also something Marquez is fully aware of and working to improve. Beyond the technical brilliance, that drive to fix even the smallest weakness is what sets him apart. Beyond Marc's technical brilliance, what Marco Rigamonti believes might be even more vital to Ducati's 2025 success is the impact Marc has had on the team's spirit. When asked what caught him most off guard, Rigamonti didn't hesitate: character. "You expect someone who's won everything to be a bit distant," he said, but instead he's constantly owning up to his mistakes. He laughs, he jokes. It creates this vibe in the garage where everyone wants to give even more. That, from a human perspective, is the most incredible part. That chemistry could be Ducati's most overlooked strength. While Pecco Bagnaia and Fabio Di Giannantonio are still wrestling with setup inconsistencies, Marc has built a feedback culture where information flows smoothly and often. It's turned the garage into more than just a workplace. It's become a motivated, high-functioning unit. Meanwhile, there's a quieter, more personal storyline unfolding behind the scenes: the emotional tension inside the Marquez family. Their mother, Rosa Alenta, has openly said it's tough watching her sons go head-to-head for MotoGP glory. It's something no parent could truly prepare for. Both sons at the top of the sport, both chasing the same title. And for the first time in his MotoGP career, Alex Marquez is in the mix as a real championship threat. But Marc isn't letting up, not even a little, and the stakes are only getting higher. While Rosa deals with the emotional weight of the situation, fans are witnessing a sibling showdown for the ages. Marc Marquez isn't just stacking wins, he's shattering expectations. At 32, he's on track to become the oldest MotoGP world champion in the modern era. Yet he's riding with the fire of someone fresh to the grid. His ability to jump into a new factory setup, build a bond with his third different crew chief in as many years, tweak his style post-injury, and still bring positive energy into a pressure-filled environment is something no one else has managed to replicate. That's the part of Marc's 2025 run that stands out. There's no single secret behind his dominance. It's not just about his aggressive style, sharp corner entry, or tyre management. It's all of it: mental strength, technical skill, emotional intelligence, working together in perfect sync. As Rigamonti put it, you're working with someone who doesn't just ride like an animal, he understands. That deep understanding of himself, of the machine, and of the sport is what separates great riders from all-time legends. And in 2025, it's what could push Marc Marquez towards something bigger than just another world title. He's not simply chasing a 9th crown, he's rewriting the whole idea of what it means to win.